He was being a good neighbor, watering his friend's front yard when the cops showed up.
What you doing here, man?
Waterfly.
Someone had called 911 to report a suspicious character.
They saying that this vehicle is not supposed to be here and you're not supposed to be
Who's
here.
saying that?
They called about it. I don't know who called.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm Pastor Jennings.
That's right. He's a pastor at a local church.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on, y'all? Eric Muldrew here with Code Red Conversations. Thanks for joining me. As you can see, the topic of this video is another video that went viral pretty much about maybe a little over a month ago, where a pastor was arrested. And you hear a lot of people giving their take as to why he was arrested, making statements such as he was arrested for watering flowers, or he was arrested for using his water hose. What I plan on doing today, like we always do, I plan on taking you through the footage and making some points as the video progresses. We will show the entire video. I'll show you the entire video, and I'll talk to you and I'll explain certain aspects of it from a police officer's perspective. Once we're done with that, I'll show you the actual case law, or I actually may show it to you in the middle of it. But I think I'll take you through the video footage first, and then I'll show you the case law that is being used from a perspective of a police officer from Alabama. So let's jump right in to the footage. Get my headphones going so there's no echo. Once again, I appreciate y'all for joining me today. Should be interesting. Should be an interesting discussion, I believe. All right, let's roll.
All right, got me going around. Howdy.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Pretty good. What you doing here, man?
Waterfly.
All right, they saying that, is that your vehicle?
Nah,
It's not?
that's the neighbor's vehicle.
The neighbors?
314, I'll be on 13.
Okay.
Yeah,
10-4.
You live here?
nah, I don't live here.
Okay. They saying that this vehicle is not supposed to be here and you're not supposed to be
Who's
here.
saying that?
They called about it. I don't know who called.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm Pastor Jennings. I live across the street.
You're Pastor Jennings?
Yes, I'm looking out for their house while they gone.
Okay.
Watering their flowers.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Now, do you have like ID and
Oh,
all?
no, man. I'm not going to give you no ID.
Why not?
I ain't did nothing wrong. I ain't did
Well,
nothing
you look,
suspicious.
listen, I'm not saying do nothing wrong.
Dog, listen,
There's a suspicious person.
Look, I used to be a police officer in Goodwater. Don't come here with that.
Okay, real quick, y'all. If he is a former police officer, if he's a former police officer and he understands how the law works and that officers are often called to make contact with people for various reasons, a suspicious person, suspicious vehicle call is not unusual. In fact, I would dare to say that those are probably some of the more common calls that police officers make, calls for service that they actually conduct. So if he's a former cop and he was called to a location to investigate something ever at any time in his career, he should understand more than anybody why these officers did what they did, why they came on scene, because you have to respond and find out what's going on. And all they were doing is simply trying to ask if he had ID so that they can determine who he is, and then they could take it from there. So the first thing he does automatically is get defensive. That's a problem. That's a problem that if his claims are true, he should know better. He should know better than that. Let's continue.
Okay.
Look, man, don't do this to me. There's a suspicious person in the yard, and if you're not one to identify yourself,
I don't have to identify myself. It's not a stop and identify state. That guy know me. He came to my store that got broke in. I live right over there across the street. Who called y'all?
That's what we got to figure out. But
Yeah,
first,
who called?
You
This
live
black
here?
man
He
out
don't
here
live here.
warning his neighbor problem. You think
I'm not
doing
saying
something
nothing
illegal?
about.
You have no right to approach me if I ain't did nothing suspicious.
Well, the problem is that's what they're trying to determine. Somebody called. So imagine if, let's just flip the script around. Imagine if no one called and the officers, or imagine if someone called and the officers never arrived on scene and they just chose not to get involved, and then the guy ends up breaking in to someone's house. Imagine what kind of outcry that would make. Hey, April, what's going on, girl? Oh, did you just hear him? Of course. That's the first thing a lot of these people go to, is make the assumption that it must be racially motivated. And which is, I'm so tired of hearing that. And you can hear the demeanor on the officers. Come on, man, don't do this to me. Like, this thing does not have to escalate. This thing does not have to get ugly. Doesn't have to, get stupid. I'm here lawfully. Therefore, I would assume that you would understand that and that you would allow me to do my job. So him asking for ID is not, as far as I know, and I'm no expert on the state of Alabama and their laws, but I do understand we will get into one aspect of their law as the video progresses. But him coming there and identifying themselves, them asking him to identify himself after being lawfully called, conducting a legal interaction, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's proceed.
Nothing wrong. Told him I'm a pastor. I pastor, so I don't want to hear you.
Sir.
You want to lock me up? Lock me up.
Nobody wants.
Oh, and I gotta stop you. Man, over the course first of all, a pastor is a human being. They are men, and men are prone to sin, and men are prone to commit crime. There are plenty of people that I know throughout the course of my law enforcement career, whether it was when I was working in the prison, working in the county jail here in Vegas, or patrolling the streets, who were quote unquote men of God, who were just as dirty and foul as anybody else. I would love to believe that people who profess to be pastors would be above reproach as they should be. But the reality is that just ain't the case. I know plenty of pastors who've been arrested for DUI, who've been arrested for, I've even known some who've been arrested for murder, who robbed, extorted, you name it. Possession of drugs, possession of drug paraphernalia. I could go on and on with that. Yeah, it'd be, like I said, it'd be nice to believe that he wouldn't commit any crime, but come on now. And then he's just being uncooperative. I mean, just walking away. He's not even allowing these officers to do their job.
Lock me. I'm not showing y'all anything. I'm going to continue to run these flowers. I don't care who called y'all. Lock me up and see what happens. I want you to.
Hey man, just come here and talk to us.
I'm
What?
going to water these back flowers is what I'm going to do. Who called y'all?
Well, if you would let us talk to you, we can figure stuff out.
You know, you're going to catch an obstruction charge if you keep walking away.
You can do whatever you want. Do it. Do it.
We're just trying to talk to you, man. Come here.
313, 314, follow.
Come tell for. We got one that's not listening to us. Look, man, let me see your phone. Let me see your phone, dude. Just calm down, okay?
No.
Stop.
I like this.
Okay. We're just trying to.
Yeah, this dude, and this is pissing me off. I watched this when this first came out, but the more I watch it, the more it bothers me. Because lock me up, arrest me, see what happens. Like, he's throwing out threats out over there. I'm not saying he's throwing out verbal threats, but considering that these officers don't know him, it could easily be interpreted as such. This is insane, like absolutely nuts. And I like this because he's probably thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get a lawsuit out of it. And most states, most counties, most cities nowadays who are intimidated by this woke movement, by this whole anti-racist movement, will probably pay him no problem. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Someone correct me in the comments if you're aware of it at all. He solicited the ambulance chaser himself, Benjamin Crump, to support him. It disgusts me, honestly. It really does. I wish I was in charge in this agency, because I'd be like, this dude ain't getting nothing. He ain't getting paid anything. And let's take this to trial. Let's take this to trial. If he wants to push it, let's take this to a civil trial and see what happens. Because there's no criminal charge. The officers didn't do anything wrong. Let's proceed.
I'm gonna talk to you and see.
I don't want to argue with you, okay?
All right, go ahead and do what you got to do, dog. Do what you got to do. Go on and lock me up.
Look, just have a
Well,
seat.
It's already
not
a
locked
lawsuit.
up, you're
It's
just-
already a lawsuit,
Yes,
dog.
sir. Yes, sir.
It's already a
Okay.
lawsuit.
Just have a seat, okay?
Okay, already a lawsuit. Already a lawsuit.
313 show us.
Hey, let me get-
1026 one black man. Sit down. Sit down, man. Just
Okay, let me call my wife.
you're not calling
My
nobody.
son just got racially profiled in Michigan. He's got his master's degree. He's an athletic director. 3 police profiler came in. I was ex-police officer. Good word. I told you I'm a pastor.
Okay, look.
Now look at the face of the officers. Honestly, I did look at them. They're like, man, I ain't trying to be dealing with this brother right here, acting ignorant over nothing. Honestly, this situation could have probably been halfway over if he had given them his ID. One of them goes back to his police car, runs him to see who he is, if he's got a criminal history, if he does in fact live across the street, and then he would have the dispatcher find out who it was that placed the call. They would probably go and talk to them, talk to the citizen that made the call, and whether they wanted to talk to them or not, then if he found out he does live across the street, they would probably be like, okay, we apologize for any inconvenience, but we were called. We had to come out here and respond to the call. I hope you have a good day. Bam. How many minutes are we in? 3 minutes in? This situation probably could have been halfway over, and he would be a free man. Instead, he's sitting over here looking pitiful with his and handcuffed, causing all kinds of problems, getting national attention, just trying to get paid. That's all. And he probably will be. That's what makes it even worse. He probably will.
Look,
be.
man.
Who called y'all?
We,
What I'm trying to
I have to
tell
ID
you
myself.
will not listen.
I have a call on you. I you have to identify yourself to me.
No,
You
I don't.
understand what
No,
I'm
I
telling
don't.
you?
No, I don't. You wait, watch how you want. Take me down, book me. Go do what you need to do. Go do what you need to do.
I think it's
Will
gonna
you
be.
please call my wife right quick?
We're gonna wait off.
You're not
All right.
operating me
Well,
on
y'all
the
sit with him, Jeremy. I'm gonna go over here see if it's this people over here that call.
No, it's all right.
313.
Go ahead.
Can you have the 72 that called step out and talk to her?
Come on, come on.
And that's what they're doing right now, having the person who made the call come out so they can find out what's going on. Hold on, I gotta listen to him. Go
Hey,
on.
you know what? You know what? 1015. 1015. 1015.
I'm assuming that means arrest. I'm assuming that means take him to jail. And he deserves it because they're not being difficult. They're not being ignorant. They're being respectful the whole time. He's the only one acting up. And I got to respond to this. I don't mean to skip over some of the other comments, y'all, but I got to post this one and interact with this one real quick. No, police officers have to be smarter than they used to be. It's 2 officers. Check out his statement of living across the street and being a pastor. That's why they were trying to identify him. That's why they were trying to get ID. If Anthony, if you're questioning what I said, how else are they able to determine whether he is who he is unless he gives them identification or he has someone there who can actually verify what he's saying? You know, I mean, honestly, this is crazy. But let's proceed.
I ain't gonna sit there and have that, dude.
Will you let my wife?
No, you ain't letting nothing now.
Appreciate it. Okay, I will.
And now he wants them to do something for him. Like you're being uncooperative from the jump, from the get-go. Oh, can you call my wife, please? Oh my goodness. Good Lord. Help me, Lord. Whew. Let's proceed.
313. Show me 1015. One black man.
Yeah.
And in case anyone is wondering, typically during police interactions, they give detail, a physical descriptor of an individual. So when they say one black male, they also say one white male, Asian male, Hispanic male, one white female, whatever it may be. That just gives them, the dispatcher and other officers who may need to be dispatched on that call, if things were to really go haywire, really go nuts, they would just have more data so that when upon their arrival, upon their response, they know who they're looking for. In case someone out there is thinking that it was racist or something.
I got to get gas, so he needs to go on someone else's.
Fill up before you go on shift.
Call at the jail. I call at the jail. I'm on this car.
I mean, I don't know if they called.
We'll
if
look
she,
on the log and see who called.
I mean, I saw the goat SUV, so and I saw him outside, and all I did said, "Hey, man, do you live here?" "No." "Is that your car?" "No, it's the neighbor's." So I'm finna go over here and run the tag.
Okay.
He's not going to cooperate.
Oh no, sitting there hollering.
I'm trying to explain to him that we got a call. We have the right to identify him.
Absolutely. They're responding to a call. The officers are responding to a call. They have the right and the actual necessity to identify. If he said what house he was in, maybe they could have ran his plate, but still, you need to know who you're talking to. Honestly, you need to know who it is that you're dealing with. I just don't get it. But you see somebody who's here, in my mind, just from the way he's acting and the things he's saying, he wants a lawsuit. He wants a lawsuit, period.
And he says I'm talking to him like a child.
If you're a pastor and you're here watering a neighbor's yard, that's fine if you got permission.
No trespassing, private property.
313, 1072, stepping out.
10-4. 313 swapping the record.
And let me add this, y'all. I'll put it back to full screen and apologize for that. Let me add this, y'all, real quick. I don't know how many times I rolled up on the scene of a call where it could be for someone threatening somebody, battery, domestic violence, and upon my arrival, the suspect starts to make himself look like he's just innocent. I remember some dude threatening to beat somebody down with a stick. He saw a patrol car pull in. He drops the stick, grabs his bike, and just starts walking. Just trying to walk all nonchalant like nothing was going on, walking. Then when we rode up on him, he's like, what? Like, what happened? What did I do? Come stop, man. Like, we watched you. We got the details of the call. We watched you for a good 10 seconds before you even realized that we were here. And we saw you with the stick in your hand, acting like you're threatening somebody. And then as soon as you see us, all of a sudden, you're trying to be all meek and mild. Stop. Or I've been on calls where there have been officers who were, there was a fellow officer who barricaded himself in his home, in his girlfriend's home. We're calling him out. We had the building surrounded because she called, the neighbors called and said there were threats of, he was trying to kill her and all this kind of stuff. The dude wouldn't come out. About 30 minutes later, he walks out. We're on the air horn, like we're trying to call this dude with the loudspeaker, trying to call him out. Few minutes later, he walks out of the house, but cup of coffee and looking confused, like, what's going on? It's like, man, you didn't hear us call you? We were blowing you up on your phone. We're trying to call you out with the loudspeaker. Oh, we were in the shower and we had some music going. And he's trying to act all cool and calm. After we get done investigating everything, he threatened to kill her. She had bruises on her body. And we ended up having to take him to jail, a fellow officer. And for the record, yeah, cops do go to jail. A lot. Period. Don't just believe what CNN tells you. Cops go to jail. Cops get arrested routinely. Okay? Just let that be known. So just the fact that he made a claim of who he was and him acting nonchalant, that means nothing in the law enforcement world because cops get lied to on a daily basis. Because people don't want to go to jail. They don't want to get caught.
Hello?
313 on records.
Hi, you're up.
313. Can you run a 28 for me?
They're running the plate to find out who it is, who the homeowner is,
Golden color Chevy Tahoe.
or who the vehicle owner is.
This is 505.
Yes.
She says she's stepping outside. You talking to the 72? Do you know that gentleman back?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Does he have
He
permission?
lives right there.
Okay, does he have permission here to be watering flowers?
He may because they are friends.
Okay.
And they went out of town today, so
Right.
he may be watering their flowers.
Okay.
Be completely normal.
Okay,
And that's
is
fine.
that's fine. If he would have said, "Hey, I got this," gave his identification because he's a suspicious person, he said that's not his vehicle; it's their vehicle.
We have
Okay.
a call. Like,
Yeah.
we're here because we're called here. I don't know who called, but somebody did.
Did you call us?
313. Rory Milam of Childersburg on a 2004 Chevy Tahoe. No color listed. Registration is valid till 6:30 of 22, negative 29.
10-4, you did say the name's Roy Mallon.
10-4.
10-4, thanks for mix up.
10-4.
Yeah, he lives right there, and he would be watering their flowers. This is probably my fault.
Okay, do you know who Roy Mallon is? That's the person that owns that vehicle.
Roy Milam.
Roy
Ask
Mallon.
him who owns the house. I don't know the guy.
So I'm assuming that this is the PR or person reporting who called, and now she realizes that he would probably would have been justified in watering their flowers because they're friends. Did she not see who it was? This is why when cops arrive on the scene, the first thing you want to do is try to find out what's going on, because oftentimes you get bad information, you get bad data. And one aspect of that is identifying the individuals that are on scene. Crazy. Now she realizes it after all this chaos. Can't make this stuff up, y'all. But hey, that's life as being a cop, man. I'm glad I'm done. I loved it. I enjoyed it. But man, I'm glad I am retired. Thank you, Lord.
Guy's name. I don't know who owns. It could be their vehicle.
Y'all, Mr.
Step out.
Miss Sister Connie, and
What's wrong with you?
my cuffs are a little bit tight. If y'all don't mind loosening them up.
Sure he is.
Listen to me, man. Is that better?
I was actually about to go over to his house.
Listen, let me talk to you. Who is Roy Mallon? That's you, ain't it?
I'm Michael Jennings, sir.
You're Michael Jennings. Who is Roy Mallon?
I don't know.
Okay, that's who that vehicle belongs to.
Yeah, that's
Who
all I
lives
know.
here?
His name is Roy.
That's who lives here?
That's Roy. I call him Roy and I call his wife Connie, and I've been dealing with him for 7 years that I've been
Yeah.
living here.
They are friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you called not because of a car, but because you thought you saw someone besides him.
Right. I didn't know it was him.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
I got to
about
keep their
that.
flowers watered. I got to keep their flowers watered
I'm
while
so
they're gone.
sorry.
You okay?
Listen.
And by the way, I won't get to come to the graduation, but we're going to get you signed something.
No, don't.
Yeah,
Listen.
This dude, man, I'm telling you, he get on my last nerves. He's cool with her, who's the one that called. He's cool with her, who initiated this contact, who created the reason for the cops to have to come out, but yet he wanted to be difficult with those officers. That doesn't make any sense. Yet, hey, he sees a payday, and he's taking full advantage of it. That's what I think. I don't know what y'all think, but comment below.
Listen to me, man. Listen to
We
me.
are
Anytime the police come out and they
She'll
say,
bring it back.
we want to identify you, you have to identify yourself because there's a reasonable suspicion, there's a reasonable man, there's a vehicle. There's a reasonable suspicion that you're here. It's not a crime.
Yeah.
If you would have said, yeah, here's my name, here's everything, we were like,
I told
okay.
him my name.
You didn't tell me your name.
I decided. He asked me who I was. I said,
You didn't give it to me when I first
Pastor
asked.
Jennings. Pastor Jennings.
That's not a name.
What was
That's
that?
a pastor.
Yeah.
I need your
The way
name.
y'all handle this situation was totally wrong.
Well, listen,
You racial profile.
we're not racial
Yes, you
profiling.
did.
No, sir. No, sir. We're not about
I
that.
told
okay?
you I was here wanting the flowers. But it's
How do I know?
Man, I'm telling you, these folks need to fight this whole racist, alleged racist agenda instead of caving to it. And I know a lot of police agencies will settle because it's cheaper than taking it to trial. But you open the door to all kinds of problems if you say, well, civilly, we agree to settle. You open the door to all kinds of issues, like from a federal level. And with our current administration, Lord only knows what kind of things that they'll try to enforce. There's something known as a consent decree. When a police agency is alleged to violate people's rights, the federal government, the Department of Justice can come down on them and enforce various standards that they have to meet over a 3, 4, 5-year period. And you're opening the door to all kinds of problems. So that's why I believe that they should fight these issues. Let these people know that we're not just going to be a check for you. Just because you're a black man and there are a couple of white officers, you made the assumption that they were racially profiling, but here's the reason why. Maybe that woman, if you wanted to make a stink about it, say something against her, but not these guys, not the cops.
No, that's the truth.
Because I had the water hose in my hand. I was pouring on the flowers.
Anybody can pick a hose pipe up.
He is going to be so pissed when I tell him I got arrested watering his flowers. 7 years we've been friends.
We got that. Look, let's sit back in here.
Okay.
You can sit down. Give me, so we can get this going on the ball. All right. What is your social?
I'm not going to give him a social.
You need to give me your social.
I'll give you my name. That's all I'm going to give you. You're not going to run no 27 and 28 on me and get me in the system for no reason.
All right.
Okay, he's getting ready to go to jail. My man, you are on your way to jail. You are going to be in the system already. And when they get there, they're going to get your full information. They're going to fingerprint you. They're going to get all the data. They're going to take mug shots. They're going to do all the stuff that they need to do to find out who you are. So you're going to be in the system. Might as well cooperate to expedite the process. If he had cooperated from the beginning, he wouldn't even have been here. But yet he wanted to be ignorant. All his fault. These officers did nothing wrong. They did what they were expected to do, what good cops are expected to do. You don't know what's happening, you got to ask questions. You have to gather information. And if anybody is commenting on this post who doesn't agree with that, I want to know what kind of experience you have in law enforcement. Honestly, that's not me a remark. That's not me trying to be smart. I want to know what kind of experience you have in law enforcement to make that kind of claim, to make any kind of claim otherwise. Please.
The girl already told you who I am.
Okay, yes,
Michael Jennings, that's all you
Michael Jennings.
Michael Jennings.
Spell your first name.
Michael.
A-E-L.
That's it.
Jennings, J-E-N-N.
Yes, sir.
I-N-G-S. G-S. What's your date of birth?
1/17/66.
1/17/66. All right. Sit in the car for me.
Yes, sir.
We'll handle this in just a
Can you
second.
give me a, can you let the one that's hot?
Yeah. Will you let the window down a little bit for him?
These officers have been nothing but respectful to him
What are we going to do with him?
from the beginning.
You'll see the charge of, I guess, disorderly conduct, failure to obey a police officer. He refused to give any information.
He said he's not going to give me his social, but he gave me his name and date of birth.
Okay, and she's saying the same thing. She won't give her name.
Huh?
Yeah, because he got arrested.
Jesus.
That's the job, y'all.
And I write a statement with him. He told me, I tried to explain it to him.
Right.
And he said, I'm talking to him like a boy. I said, if you'll just listen to me, you'll be an audio and video recorded. What we're trying to do is identify yourself and what's going on here. He wouldn't even let me. He wanted to yell over me and say we're racial profiling, and I'm talking to him like he's a boy.
Nobody was doing that. 313 swapping back director.
Sure.
313 on records.
Let me throw this in real quick. You know, I remember back in the day when I used to think like that. I would always assume that anytime a white person did something to me somewhat questionable or sideways, that it had to have been racially motivated. I used to always assume that. It wasn't until the Lord woke me up, the Lord saved me, and then I started having pastors and other people around me, and the scriptures just started held me to a higher standard, not just to believe or make assumptions of people without knowing anything, and being trying to be consistent with being a police officer. Because one thing that people always say, cops are always trying to profile us and make assumptions of us based upon our skin color. But being an officer, I can go on and on how people would look at me and make an assumption of me simply based on the uniform that I wore. So I was like, okay, let me at least try to be consistent in how I view the world, how I view people, and how I want people to look at me. And just looking back on it, it's tiring. It just wears you out. Just always thinking the worst of everybody. Now, there's a difference between understanding that people are sinful, people have a sinful nature, but then just as trying to assume that every white person is a racist. It's tiring, and it's dumb, first of all, because everybody has an area that they battle with when it comes to sin. And just to assume that based on your skin color of one particular group, that they all feel and think and act the same way, that's insane. For most black folks, if anybody was to assume that all black people are criminals because, there's a small percentage of us that gets involved in a lot of crime, man, they would be irate, they'd be pissed off, they'd be throwing a fit, having a temper tantrum, and they would be justified in doing so. But I guess some of us think that we can get away with it. Ridiculous. Move the video up a bit.
Space 13, your subject by name and date of birth, Michael Jennings, 117 of 66, returns with a oil.
They don't want to give his sensitive information out online.
Current class Delta Mike, negative 29.
Careful, thank you. Probably makes up. He's close.
Careful.
Yeah, let's pull him up on move.
Well, I got his old in now.
Yeah. She's doing the same thing, but her name and phone number's going to be on the notes.
Is it now?
It will be. She's going to call 911.
Brandon knows her pretty well. Where's it at? Suspicious view.
Move the video up a bit.
Phone number.
Okay. I mean, this could have been all avoided if he would have just.
Well, I told her that. And every time I try to tell him, he says, "You good, man? I appreciate this. I appreciate it." Because all he does is racial profiling. He's suing. That's all he would say. You couldn't talk to him.
Well, wasn't going to detain him until he walked away, started coming to the front yard saying he's coming to water these plants, and then he gets his phone out and he just keeps speeding, walking away. And I said, "Okay, fine, come here." And because at that point I realized he's not going to do anything to help us out.
What's the charge? So just obstruction?
Disorderly or obstruction.
Obstruction.
I'll just do obstruction.
Obstruction of governmental operations.
Yeah.
We're here to investigate a call, and he wouldn't give us his name.
All right, let's stop right there, y'all. And but we're not done. We're definitely not done. I want to take us to another aspect what they just talked about. What are the legal grounds for them arresting him? Let's wrestle with that a bit. Are these officers justified in taking him to jail based on everything that happened? I'm pretty sure you already know what I think, but let's see what the law says. Forget my personal opinion. Are they legally justified? That's the big question. I'm hoping y'all can see this. If not, I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. Hold on 1 second. If not, I'll be reading it. I'll read it to you. This is from Alabama law, obstructing of public administration. Obstructing governmental operations. A person commits the crime of obstructing governmental operations if by means of intimidation, physical force, or interference, or by any other independently unlawful act, meaning the officers are attempting to identify you as they're lawfully and legally on scene, lawfully interacting with you, when he, one, intentionally obstructs, impairs, or hinders the administration of law or other governmental function. Two, intentionally prevents a public servant from performing a governmental function. 2B, this section does not apply to the obstructing, impairment, or hindrance of the making of an arrest. C, obstructing governmental operations is a Class A misdemeanor. And they also have the obstruction law that they were referencing. So he falls in line with a person who commits a crime of obstructing governmental operations by means of intimidation, physical force, or interference by any other or independently unlawful act. I mean, bottom line is, dude was guilty. Dude's guilty of obstructing the officers from lawfully being allowed on scene, being on scene, and attempting to do their duty, conducting their lawful duties. And yet somehow in all this, he's looking at himself as somehow being victimized. Help me understand that, y'all. Honestly, help me understand that. All right, let's go through some of the comments. I want to know what y'all think here. Let me see here. Why does it have to be us, bruh? I don't know, my man. I don't know. It can get embarrassing, and it gets old. Honestly, it's embarrassing, and it can get really, really old. And as far as him trying to go viral, he did. He did go viral. Just extra for no reason. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the part that really just irritates me. That video, let me see how long that went. 15 minutes. He could have been finishing up watering flowers and gone on about his business. But no, he wanted to be stupid. Like Mark, like King T said, I'm finna act. Who's King T? King T. I don't know that one. I know DMX said something like that back in the day, but anyway. Okay, let's see what Anthony had to say here. No, police officers have to, okay, we already dealt with that one. Yeah, April, he lived across the street. If I'm not mistaken, like a next door neighbor or something along those lines. Yeah, man, definitely sad, definitely sad. I don't understand why compliance is so difficult. I know we live in a day and age where where compliance is like the cardinal sin, the idea that you actually ask someone to cooperate with the police. Like, how dare you? I mean, how stupid is that? Like, how irrational have we been? And you just, it just boggles my mind. It blows my mind, the things that people can get caught up in and start believing and start following just by simple repetition and a desire not to be, not to go outside the box or go against the grain. People will believe anything. And it's not like this is anything special. It's not like this is just people today. This is the history of man. The worst place you want to be is on the outside looking in while the world travels in one direction. I mean, at least that's how they try to make you feel. That you must be you're insane. And I know there are a lot of folks in here. I can just see a lot of conservative black folks watching me, and I appreciate y'all being here. It's what we deal with on a daily basis. And common sense, I mean, we got to go politics to some degree. We got to, because if we just examine some aspects of the Democratic Party, the people who were all about defunding and abolishing the police 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, are now trying to act as if they never promoted that idea. And I'll be addressing that in a later video, a video that should be coming out hopefully over the course of this weekend. A series of videos so that I'm gonna do the best I can so that people never forget that. But just think about what they stand for. The defamation of marriage, things that common sense would tell us isn't a good thing. This radical transgender push, all the way down to our children, the murder of innocent children. And that's the defunding or even the abolition of the police. Just common sense would tell anybody that those things are absolutely evil. Killing a baby is wrong. Getting rid of all the police based on the actions of a very small, select percentage, very small percentage of law enforcement is just ridiculous. Giving babies, little children, hormone blockers is just dumb and evil. All these things that they stand for to the rational, reasonable person, because you even got people on the political left like Bill Maher and Joe Rogan, godless men, dudes that were professing atheists. I can't think of the other dude who's been appearing in different places. He wrote a couple of books as well. He used to be a radical, anti-Christian, God hater, but now he due to some of his stances on the social justice movement, he's found himself aligned with a lot of believers. So that there's some people, even some people who don't believe in any God whatsoever, have enough light to be able to know that these things are evil. But yet you got some people who profess to be in the church, professing God-fearing men and women who support these evil ideologies. I don't even know how I ended up getting here on this topic, but forgive me, y'all. But it's just the mindset that takes place where people just want to go along. Something that 15, 20 years ago, we wouldn't even be debating because everyone knew better. But here we got people, who are saying that compliance is a bad thing. Why should you have to comply? Those officers, man, stop. You want to comply because you want to survive. That's why. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I know it's insane. It's silly, but you want to make it home at the end of the day so you can see your family. Yep, everybody was calm but him. What's up, my brother Anthony? Burglars will lie and say that they live there and are supposed to be there, right? My man was a former cop in Chicago, so he knows what he's talking about. I've had people tell me, look me dead in my face and just flat out lie, give me information, give me the name, date of birth, and social security number of someone else, having someone else's social security number memorized. And it wasn't even them. So just because you made the claim that, yeah, I'm over here watering flowers, he could have been casing the joint for all we know. I mean, that's a very real possibility. They should have unarrested him, especially when the neighbor vouched for who he is. I don't agree with that. He went to jail. He was arrested for obstructing. That's why he went to jail. He wasn't arrested for being on the property. He wasn't arrested for anything else, watering flowers like some news reporters were claiming, for being non-compliant, for not cooperating, going along with the officers as they are there to lawfully conduct their duties. This is an ego thing that will cost the city unneeded resources. Who was being the only ego and the only person? Because, okay, if they had let him go, should he have, do you think he would have cooperated? Do you think he would, or do you think he would have all of a sudden decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to take these guys to jail. Stop, man. Come on, man. If he had what regardless, dude had his mind made up from the get-go. He had his mind made up that he was going to be uncooperative. Period. And like I said, and I just answered that as far as what suspect is going to water someone's flowers. Anthony, have you ever spent any time in law enforcement? Honestly. Because if you have, you would understand. I gave you a scenario. My man Anthony just shared you a scenario. If I could bring them on, some of these other officers that are in the chat, if I could bring them on right now, I guarantee you they could tell you some of the craziest stories that you've ever heard what suspects have told them. I've had, and they'll say it with a straight face. They'll say it with a straight face, knowing that they're lying. People will do all kinds of things trying to act innocent, all kinds. And you don't understand that unless you actually put on a uniform and you actually dealt with people out there on the streets. You won't have a clue. You won't understand that. Or if you don't have a good understanding of human nature. Let me see here. I appreciate y'all jumping in. I really do. We live in a climate of eternal victimhood. Yes, we do. It's sad. It's pathetic, honestly. It's pathetic. I'm going to say this over and over again. All of this could have been avoided had he just given them his identification. All of this could have been avoided. I wish he had just been cool from the start, because arresting him seems like much, and he created the issues. He created the entire issue. He created every problem. At no point were those officers out of bounds. At no point did those officers do anything that they weren't legally justified in doing. Eventually you get to the point to where you stop pleading with the suspect, the individual, and then you start gaining control. And they were asking the guy to be cooperative. They were nice over and over again. Then finally my man said, okay, that's enough, man. You're going to be accusing us of racial profiling. In the meantime, you're being uncooperative while we're just trying to do our duties. We're trying to do our job. Okay. You've been obstructing the whole time. Now it's time to go. And backtracking, that only made it worse in my mind. Because then people would say, well, if he was really guilty, then why did they decide not to arrest him? Because I've seen it in the comments 1,000 times over the last few years. And he did go to jail. If he was in Chicago, he'd be out without bail because the plants need water. And it's not just Chicago, it's all over, sadly. All over the place. What you got to say, Corey? I don't have a comment about the video, just tuning in, but did your beard get more gray in the last month? I trimmed it, man. So I trimmed it low. So most of the, so more of the gray is in the thicker area, not down near the bottom. But what you trying to say, man? You trying to clown me on my channel? Oh, and by the way, hopefully you'll actually respond to a brother when I shoot you that next text message. So anyway, I appreciate you swinging by though. He gave his name. He said he lives across the street. He said he's a pastor. The officers should conduct a little more investigation and verify the claim. Okay, I responded to that earlier. You verify the claim by presenting you help them verify the claim by presenting the ID, because you can have a name, but you got to be able to determine, okay, what house he lives in, and all he would have had to do was give ID. My man Anthony, we got to talk. Seriously, we got to talk. You're killing me over here. Fuck, my rights are being violated by the police. I will never apply street justice. I'll fight for my rights. And yeah, that's basically him. Man, y'all over here clowning me over here, man. Y'all killing me. Y'all be nice. Y'all be nice to the brother over here, man. But regardless of the gray, look at that right there. Bam, 52. 52, y'all. Let's see what y'all got. And he rocking a six-pack, 52 years old. Little hair color ain't no thing. Thank you. Thank you. I can't either. I appreciate that. So much of this, and the comments are basically the same. Everybody understands so much of this could have been cut off by simply complying. I say it over and over again, y'all. Compliance, you think about the last, let's think about it. Let's say go back to 2014. That's when this whole Black Lives Matter movement, maybe 2012, but 2014, when they really started gaining momentum. This whole Black Lives Matter, anti-police move, push over the last few years. Just imagine if half of those people, or if all of them complied, all the main situations you could think of. From the situations where the officers were ultimately at fault to where the situations where they were not. Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Stephen Clark, who else? Who am I thinking of? George Floyd. Had those individuals done what was asked of them initially or early on in the situation, most of them would probably still be here to this very day. Period. I don't think there's any getting around that. Most of them would still be here to this very day had they done what the officers asked them to do and decided not to resist or trip out or fight or run or do whatever they did. Unless you have book chapter. I'm sure I could come up with something as far as obeying the laws of the land or something. I'm pretty sure I can come up with a book chapter and verse on that. How long was I in law enforcement? A grand total of 21 years. I did about 14 years as a corrections officer and a little over, actually about 13 years as corrections officer. About, wait a minute, let me get, I'm all messed up. Yeah, 13 years as a corrections officer, and I did the last 8 years of my career as a police officer. On patrolling the streets of Las Vegas. Even in the jail, I worked in gang intelligence. On the streets, I was a firearms defensive tactics active shooter instructor here in Vegas. And in the areas I patrolled, downtown Las Vegas, South Central Area Command here in Vegas, there were some hot areas. There were some really hot, as in crime, high crime areas. So I dealt with a lot of people from a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different worlds. And you had to do what you had to do. At least he's not ashamed of the bald head. Not at all, man. I've been rocking this bad boy since 95 or so. Hey, I think first time I shaved it, I was like, I think I wear this pretty well. All right. Okay, let's see this one right here. Anthony, since you're going political, what about DJT and the Republicans going off on the FBI and the judges? Okay, going off on the FBI and judges, where the FBI has been shown to have political bias. It's been demonstrated that they have political bias, where they falsified information during the whole Russia, quote unquote, Russiagate, where they falsified information, or where they withheld the Hunter Biden laptop, that FBI. Okay, I'm just curious, I'm just curious. And Anthony, you're actually comparing those aspects to the murder of unborn children. You're actually comparing those attributes to the defamation of the family. You're comparing those issues with the radical push to defund the police and the fact that there were probably 5,000 to 10,000 more deaths as a result of this whole anti-police, abolish the police movement during the whole BLM riots in 2020, you're actually making a comparison between those? Come on, man. Come on now. I hope you're not. I hope you're not, because they pale in comparison. You're talking about clear and blatant sin. Clear and blatant sin. Stop, man. Seriously. You can do better than that. Please do better than that. All right, let's see here. Proverbs 17:11. God bless you too, and to everyone else. Thank you, brother. That's it, April. Even many leftists see the absurdity. Like I said, you got guys like Joe Rogan and Bill Maher who are like, this stuff is ridiculous. They're wise enough to see that the perspective, the lawlessness that we have been dealing with as a society. Look at every city that chose to defund the police. NYPD, if I'm not mistaken, cut $500 million out of their annual budget. NYPD, the largest police agency in the nation, policing over 8 million people, they cut $500 million out of their budget. And what has happened? Crime skyrocketing. In some neighborhoods, homicide, the shootings are up over 200%. LA, same thing. Portland, Philly, I think Atlanta as well. Austin, Texas. Minneapolis, Minnesota. All of them chose to defund the police, and look at their crime rates. Look at their crime rates. Unless you're living under a rock, look at what's going on. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Let's see here. It depends on who the judges are. It depends on who the judges are. And I already, because I'm not exactly sure exactly what you're talking about. But here's a for instance. Anthony, I would love to know. I would love to have you come on, man. I honestly would. I would love to have you come on live and we can have a conversation about this. There was an incident. Let me see if I can find this video. Bear with me, y'all. Please, bear with me. I got to go through my history. Some videos I watched yesterday. There was a judge. Hopefully it won't take too long because I want to get your take on this. If we're talking about good judges, bad judges, I'd love to know your take on this. Let me see if I can find it. I'm not going to take, if it takes too long, I'll just talk about it. But I'm trying to scroll through and see what's up. Hold on, let me go to my saved videos because I have some saved videos where I plan on working on. I plan on making some content over. Because I want to know, Anthony, answer me this just right offhand. Do you think that there can be bad judges? Do you think judges can be bad? Let me ask you that. And then we'll continue on with this discussion here. Or do you think that we should just assume that a person is just and righteous because of the position they hold? Okay, okay, here we go. Hopefully I can get this video up and running here. And this is basically my perspective on this whole thing. All right, I'm about to share another video with y'all. This one goes out to, I'm doing an old shout out. This one goes out to Anthony. Hopefully this video will work. It's taking forever to pull up here. Give me a second. Hopefully y'all can see it. I think it's about to start.
And tonight,
No,
police in
that's
Baton
not it.
Rouge
Hold
are
on.
trying to determine who killed an LSU student early
That's
this
not
morning.
it. All right, let me try this. I appreciate y'all bearing with me. Technical difficulties and all. Okay. Things always have to be difficult. I'm gonna give it another few seconds. If it don't work, I'm just gonna explain everything that went on, because I don't want to keep y'all waiting.
Well, $900, that's all a capital murder suspect here in Houston had to pay to get out of jail.
And this is the lowest amount for that crime we've ever reported on. Fox 26's Randy Wallace joining us live in studio with tonight's Breaking Bond.
Yeah, Rushy, Eric Simeon first posted a $150,000 bond for capital murder back in 2017. His repeated bond violations had him in and out of jail, something a criminal district court judge eventually rewarded him for.
Capital murder.
Eric Todd Simeon and 3 other men are charged with capital murder in the May 26, 2016 deaths of Javier Moreno and Roger Pantoja.
They killed 2 people. And they also put a gun to a young mother with a 2-month-old, and they put a gun to her head as well.
Capital murder is one of the clear exceptions in Texas law that you can completely deny bond.
But in 2017, Simeon walked out of jail after posting a $150,000 bond. According to court records, he repeatedly violated the conditions of bond and was back in jail 4 months later.
They reinstate the bond, but they lower the bond to 50. Normally, it goes up when you get your bond revoked, but this went dramatically down.
While out on the $50,000 bond for capital murder, Simeon is convicted of evading arrest and spends 60 days in jail. His bond is once again revoked. Then 180th Criminal District Court Judge Deshaun Jones lowers Simeon's bond for capital murder to just $9,000.
Never heard of such a thing.
I have never in my life seen a bond that low for capital murder. I've never seen a bond that low for murder, much less capital murder.
A $9,000 bond, you pay the bondsman $900. So.
All right, I'm just going to stop there. I think I made the point that there are some judges, just your position doesn't make you any less likely to be, good or bad, just a reality. So if a judge or FBI agent or someone who has shown a level of corruption, then I think you are completely entitled to call them out on it and say that they're bad. It doesn't make a wholesale. And comparing a handful of FBI agents to the wholesale saying defunding of the police, the abolition of police, or we need to reimagine policing, or the rioting that went on in 2020 when out of the mouth of Kamala Harris said that those people won't stop, nor should they stop. When tens of thousands of cops were injured, over $2 billion worth of property damage took place over the course of 2020, where city blocks were taken over. Chop, with all that foolishness was going on. We had a cop here in Vegas shot in the back of his head during one of those nights when they were trying to bring that nonsense here. Dozens of people murdered. There's no comparison to saying a few FBI agents are problematic and a few judges are problematic to the radical damage that was done to our society that we're still suffering through as a nation during this whole push to defund and abolish the police. Not even on the same level, my man. Not even close. And we could talk about this. I can do this all day because this is my area. This is what I talk about. This is what I study. This is what I talk about on a daily basis. They're not even close. And I really hope that you're not making a real legitimate comparison between the two. I really hope not. But anyway, Democrats run cities and they ruin them, bro. And they ruin them. Hey, hon. Well, working in the courts, yes, the missus, she was used to work in the courts, and she can probably go on and on about some of the bad judges that she saw. Okay, let me throw this. The judge who signed the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago, the FBI agents who served the search warrant should have been targeted. Should they have been targeted? Of course not. Targeted. Of course not. But you're not hearing the same rhetoric. There's no comparison between the rhetoric that I just shared with you coming from the left, those people on the left, as opposed to the issues with the those FBI agents involved. He's pinpointing who he was talking about. He was pinpointing the judge who signed the search warrant, who, I'm not sure how much you researched any other perspective on this, Anthony, but this same judge demonstrated how he just could not stand Donald Trump in his own tweets. Could not stand Donald Trump. And if you have a situation like this where you're not allowed to be where you know that you may have a question or maybe questionable whether you are unbiased or not, then you should recuse yourself and have them go somewhere else. Those are my thoughts. I don't think that's problematic at all. In a comparison, basically wholesale, we need to reimagine policing. And at no point, and I've done a ton of research and maybe I missed it, but at no point have I ever heard anyone actually define what that reimagining is. Clearly, not a bunch of vague references, but clearly define what does reimagining law enforcement actually mean. But those who were saying defunding, abolishing, demilitarizing the police, just imagine if the police didn't have the proper tactical equipment during the October 1st shooting here in Vegas, or during the Pulse nightclub shooting, or during the, going back old school, the North Hollywood shootout, where those two dudes armed, fully body armored with fully auto weapons, went and robbed the bank and held the entire LAPD at bay. And the only reason they were able to do as much damage as they did was because all the cops had were shotguns and handguns. And it took the SWAT team armed with the right tactical gear, semi-automatic, fully automatic weapons to finally stop them. So most people who promote these foolish ideologies, defunding, abolishing the police, don't really understand policing. That's the part that really gets me. When we had some police officers here. I actually had a dude that I worked with. He was on the scene of a shooting where a guy was in a elevated firing position, and he was keeping the police at bay, and they were stuck right underneath his window. And the only way that they were able to get out of that was for the SWAT team to come, or search and rescue one of them, were to come riding in with an armored vehicle. Bearcat is what they call them, an armored vehicle, so that they were able to get inside and under cover of fire and get away. Just throwing these points out there, y'all. Just throwing these points out there. There are over 900,000 police officers in the U.S. When we hear about the bad apples, we're hearing about a small percentage, an astronomically small percentage, Mark. Good point, bro. Good point. The percentage is in lower than single digits. It's in decimals, like decimal points. You have to go into 0.00 when you're discussing these issues. If you're trying to discuss them, if you're trying to discuss them honestly. How many contacts do the police have with civilians? There's some more recent data that's been out that shows that the police have contact, and this isn't this can be multiple contacts with the same individual, but we're talking police initiated stops. We're talking calls for service. We're talking civilian stops, consensual stops. We're talking, there's data that shows that nationwide, on an annual basis, the police come in contact with and make over 375 million contacts with the public on an annual basis. And then let's pull it back even further, y'all. When we're talking about the old tripe that people love to bring up, the unarmed black man shooting. For the last few years, if I'm not mistaken, it has been in single digits. Last I checked, it was a couple of weeks ago, I believe last year, and this is according to the Washington Post, not a conservative perspective, said that there were 6 unarmed black men shot by the police. 6 out of 375 million contacts with citizens on an annual basis. 6. And before you get carried away with those 6, I always say, unarmed doesn't automatically mean that you aren't dangerous, that you are no longer a potential threat. Every year, there are thousands of people who commit homicide with their bare hands. Every single year. That's from the CDC. That's from some of the some old FBI Uniform Crime Report data. So let's have a good understanding of what's really going on here. Let's have a good understanding of what's really happening. Looks like the FBI went judge shopping to get what they wanted. I wouldn't be surprised. It's social workers instead of cops. That's what some people want. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for a social worker to support law enforcement in certain situations. I'm not saying that there's not a case for that. But it's not for every case. Sometimes, and I think this is hard for a lot of people to understand, sometimes cops have to do bad things to bad people. That's just the reality of it. It sucks. It ain't fun. I don't know any cop that relishes the idea of actually having to use or potentially use deadly force on somebody, but it's just a reality because there's some people out there who are just so evil-minded or just so dangerous, whether it's because of being under the influence or mentally ill, that the only way to stop them is to bring deadly force upon them. It's just the unfortunate reality. You have no idea how much evidence the feds have had to get a search warrant for Mar-a-Lago. Okay, I don't, but neither do you. So we're kind of in the air. But it still matters whether this is some unprecedented standard or not. Have they ever done this before? Would they have done this before if it was anybody else other than Trump? Or on top of that, if I have made it clear, I've seen judges recuse themselves because they know somebody who's on either side of a case. They have a personal relationship with them, or they feel strongly about a situation, and they've said, you know what, I can't see this case. I can't stand as judge over this case, so I have to recuse myself, and we'll see if we can go to another courtroom. Why couldn't that judge have done that? Why couldn't that judge have done that? That would have been the right thing to do. And I guarantee you that's going to come up. That's going to be an issue. Anyway, but I appreciate y'all stopping in today. Man, much love. I'm going to start doing lives more often. Matter of fact, y'all, keep your eyes peeled because I more than likely will be going live tomorrow. I've been seeing some news clips, man. Tucker Carlson went scorched earth on the crime going on in our nation. And I just want to post a video. I want to show his opening monologue from a couple of days ago. And it's some good stuff, y'all. It's some really, really good stuff. 483. I don't know what you mean, man. So anyway, but I appreciate y'all being here. Once again, keep an eye out for my next post, my next live. I'll have some more content coming up. And as always, stay safe, God bless, and make sure you join the conversation. I'm out.